go again. Right. Hello. Welcome. That is my task manager, yes. We'll turn that off there for a sec. Right. We shall try this again. That's not where we want it to be, is it? No, that's bugged. That's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll figure this out. You see, we tried to do this like 3 seconds ago, and guess what? My PC decided to die. So let's just try to not have that happen again. Why did it want to die? Because it's slightly above 25 degrees. Woo! Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like 10 degrees. Who knows? It's just killing my PC. Slight heat. Oh well. Back to OBS. Back to thing. Where is chat? Chat doesn't pop up. We gotta move it somewhere. Where's chat? It popped out. Why? YouTube. Can you please pop up? Okay, there we go. There we go. Took a while. There we go. Look at this. Holy. Absolute disaster. That is fine. We'll put chat there. Okay. Hasn't exploded yet. Oh yeah, I forget I can't chat in that. Type in that chat. We got type in the other chat, which is in somewhere hidden. Is there a way to make this like keep on top? I know you can do that with what? Show as tab. What does that mean? Oh, that's goofy. No, let's not do that. That is goofy. It looks busted. Did I break it? I don't know. I feel like I just broke that. Look at that. Look at that. I feel like I just broke that. You know what? I did. It's completely busted. Okay. Right. Well, that involves popping out chat, which is just goofy. Because it doesn't pop up properly. Alright, so we put this here. Bring this down. Yoink. There. There. Is that okay? Is that something? Looks like it might be something. Right. I should really set up like a different one of these screens. A different screen. Yeah. Okay, well it hasn't crashed, so I'm happy. I'm happy. It hasn't crashed. Right. There. There, just let that carry on.
With a fox or two, kicking back, taking it easy, getting your groove on. I've got mine on 24 hours a day, ladies. That's why I'm the lady killer.
Okay.
I got the fever, baby.
Word to daddy.
Fever 105.
I don't know. What do I say in the little messaging? Hi. Welcome. Okay, that'll do. If I put that in there, I can go bang. Now, that does not pause the music, it pauses this. Why is it not pause the music? Do I have to pause it and then it becomes a thing? Okay. Right. I see. What am I looking for? I am so lost. So lost and confused. Oh well. But so I can show it and I can just hide it. So that's grand. We do not really mind. Wow, what have we got? Real food versus fake food. Okay. What? What was that? Huh? Hold on. YouTube, what was that? You like loaded something completely different. That was goofy. Let's see if it does it again. What is that? Anyone know what happened? That is goofy. Oh. So, it like scrolls down and it like stops loading. Maybe. Maybe? Let's just add new things with mobile or whatever. Okay. That's okay, OBS. Oh, lovely. The plague. You know, what shorts do we got? Where's shorts? I don't know, I guess they're like here. No, that's... What? See, I was expecting it to be, show less. But no. Boo. It's up the top. I don't even know. I'm just used to looking at it on my phone. Where's the audio?
70 kilograms of weight inside it impossible to lift.
How do you adjust the audio on this?
Super easy, but after 30 minutes
I do not know. Oh, who cares?
On whether the wigwag over the blow-away.
Is this song?
I mean, I saw these earlier, guys. Bring me new things. I watched them on my phone earlier. I mean, can we get some new things? I'm spamming the buttons. What's this? Okay, well,
The man had 5 rifles on him and an anti-tank weapon.
yep, that's
I'd say he's ready.
squad wiped. Alright, so I can mute it on my end. It does not commute on that end. Alright. I don't know if it's too loud or if I'm too loud. I don't know. From what I remember, OBS is goofy. And it's got a blue part, a yellow part, and a red part, and the yellow part is still too quiet, normally. So I haven't bought in the red, so... Yeah. Oh, play it again. I see.
Hearing a lot of people talk about things, and I just want to set the record straight. I was bad at land nav as an enlisted guy. I made staff sergeant bad at land nav. I didn't need to become an officer to get bad at it. I already was bad at it. If you don't give me a GPS, I'll die. I'll die out there. I'll wander around and I'll keel over. Just thought I'd let everybody know. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about things, and I just want to set the record.
Okay then.
Alright, my man here is trying to push a Humvee. I can't tell from here, but it looks like it's probably a high back. Yeah,
He's got it. He's pushing it.
Probably like between 6,000 and 8,000 pounds. I know that a fully up armored Humvee is like 11,500 or 12,000 pounds. It's a lot. Either way, it's a heavy vehicle, so if you can push it by yourself, you probably got some hams on you. All right.
I have so many questions, starting with how and ending with why.
I missed the landing zone.
That's obvious.
Excuse me. What are you guys doing on my property? Do you guys have a warrant?
We got a call, silent alarm.
And what are you doing in my tree, bro?
He missed the landing zone.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Holy, move on.
Customer let his son choose this route.
Ooh, what's it gonna be? Is it Chrome? Ooh, that was nice. That was nice.
Customer let his son choose this route.
Can I skip to the end on this? I missed it. I looked away for a second. Ah, man. I missed the ending.
Have you ever seen a toilet in the...
Sorry, my mouse is scrolling all over the place.
Have you ever seen a toilet in the bus?
Yeah, there's normally a toilet. It's down the stairs. Yeah?
It's full of modern amenities and has a window too.
Yeah, have you never used an expressway bus?
Have you ever seen a toilet in the bus?
Yeah. I have. There you go, double the likes.
This is Edinburgh's oldest building, St Margaret's Chapel. Situated within the grounds of Edinburgh Castle, Scotland's royal family once knelt to worship in this serene private chapel. This small but perfectly formed structure has survived fire, war, revolution, reformation, and military occupation. King David I built the chapel around 1130 and named it after his mother, St Margaret of Scotland. On the night of 14th of March 1314, the castle was captured by Robert the Bruce. He destroyed all the buildings in the castle except for the little chapel. The chapel fell into disuse during the Protestant Reformation and was used as a gunpowder store from the 16th century. In commemoration of the 900th anniversary of the death of St Margaret, the chapel was refurbished. It was given a new altar cloth, 10 bench seats, an alms chest, a flower stand, and a display case for a copy of the St Margaret's Gospel book. This is Edinburgh's oldest building, St Margaret's Chapel, situated.
Well, that's pretty nice.
Hey guys, $1 or anything in the store.
Anything in the store?
You're not gonna believe this. These forbidden forest floofs only take out about 1 person a year. But grass puppies like Hoss here take out almost 20 people a year. And 15 of those are on purpose. Which makes cows the 4th deadliest animal in the US.
Did you know in the movie All Quiet on the Western Front, have you ever noticed the soldiers turning their heads towards Kaiser Wilhelm II and then quickly returning their gaze straight ahead? This is because during military ceremonies and parades, soldiers are typically instructed to keep their gaze fixed straight ahead, which is known as eyes front. However, there are certain instances when soldiers are required to turn their heads to acknowledge important individuals, such as a commanding officer or high-ranking official. This gesture is a formal way for soldiers to show their respect and loyalty to their leader and country, and is a common practice in military ceremonies and parades around the world. Did you know in the movie...
Okay.
Your spice drawer has stuff from weird plants all over the world, like cinnamon comes from tree bark in Sri Lanka.
Huh?
The tree bark stuffed inside other tree bark and then rolled up. And I'm shocked at how many times
Weird.
I looked at cloves and never put it together that it's a dried flower bud from a tree, which now I can't unsee that. But yeah, they harvest them from 50-foot trees in Indonesia. Fennel seeds come from the Mediterranean. The Greek word for a field of fennel is marathon, which is how the city got its name, and then later the 26.2-mile race. Cream of tartar is actually a chemical that forms on the side of wine casks. It's really not a spice, it's a residue. And one of the only spices that comes from North America is paprika, made from ground up red peppers after they dry out in these giant tubes. The movie Everything Everywhere All at Once jokes about putting everything in the universe onto a bagel, but honestly the contents of your regular spice drawer might be a good start in that direction. Your spice drawer has stuff from weird plants all over the world.
Did you ever notice how some ships have a front end or bow that goes straight down? Well,
Does anyone else have a spice thing? I don't have a spice thing. I don't use spices. I barely use salt. I mean, if salt comes on the chips, it comes on the chips. But I just about use, you know, sauce. Mayo and ketchup. That's it. That's all I use. That's about it.
others have one that's angled in. The very front of a ship is called a stem, and a lot of older ships had a straight stem, like the Mauretania here. The idea was that these would help the ships cut through the water like a knife. Now, back in the day, the only way to cross the oceans was in a ship, so these things had to be fast. Cutting through the waves instead of riding over them looked like the way forward, except it had unintended consequences. Mauretania earned a reputation for weird behaviour, seeming to drop its bow straight down, even in calm water, sending passengers on board scrambling. It even surprised its own captain once, sending a roaring wave over the front of the ship, soaking him in his dress uniform while he was going to dinner. Instead, ships began to use raked stems, which cut in at an angle, helping them ride over waves somewhat, which was much more comfortable for passengers. Did you ever notice that some ships have a front...
This is the best quote I have ever heard. Listen closely. You cannot control the outcome, but you can control your effort and attitude.
If you own a gun that looks like this, you need to learn how to manually decock the hammer. When this gun is cocked, there's absolutely no way to make it safe because you cannot remove the cylinder without first discharging the firearm or manually decocking the hammer. By far the most common method of doing that is to pull the trigger all the way to the rear and then slowly release the hammer. The problem with that is, if you can see, the firing pin's actually protruding through the frame. When you do it that way, there is a potential that if your hand slips, you can cause the firearm to discharge. The other method I like to teach that's a little bit safer is to pull the trigger, release the hammer slightly, release the trigger, and then release the hammer the rest of the way. And you'll see there's no protrusion of the firing pin through the frame. There's no chance of an accidental discharge there. That method of decocking applies to most hammer-fired guns out there. For example, on this 1911, if I pull the trigger, release the hammer slightly, release the trigger, and then release the hammer the rest of the way, you'll see that it throws me into half-cock. And of course, half-cock was the original safety for centuries. So thank you for watching. If you own a gun that looks like this, you need to learn how to manually...
Very nice.
I want to show you a neat trick of Russian disinformation. It's called dip.
No.
No.
Differences between my scaleless puppy
I like dip, it's fine. Ooh.
When my scaleless puppy sees me, he rushes over to me to greet me as if he hasn't seen me in many moons. Whereas my regular puppy, when he sees me, all he does is bark at me and run his mouth.
Some videos are way quieter than others.
His mouth goes wild, but thankfully he realizes quickly that I'm his friend. When my actual puppy attacks, he goes for the threat. These are the differences between my...
Rule number 7. Never trust someone who takes hours to text back. But when you hang out... Did you know there is a scene in the movie Heartbreak Ridge where a credit card is unexpectedly used to request long-distance landline fire support? This intriguing incident is actually based on a true event that occurred during Operation Urgent Fury in Grenada. During the operation, a U.S. Navy SEAL was on a mission to rescue the Governor General when they came under heavy fire from an armored personnel carrier. In a desperate situation, the SEAL had to think quickly to get immediate firepower support. Inspired by the calling card method from the pre-cell phone era, the SEAL grabbed a credit card and used it to make a long-distance call to SOCOM. This unconventional move triggered a rapid military response. An AC-130 gunship armed with heavy artillery was swiftly deployed, arriving in time to eliminate the armored personnel carrier and provide crucial support to the SEAL's rescue mission. Did you know there is a scene in the movie Heartbreak Kid where a credit card is unexpectedly used to...
Hey, is that one of our carts?
Oh, no, it's my family's car.
There's a couple options for insulating really tight spaces on a floor like this. In that video, the comments suggested 3 different types. Spray foam insulation is considered by many to be the best, but there's still the problem of having to crawl underneath and install it. You still gotta lay under there and spray it. It's more expensive and overkill for a building that's planned to be lived in for about 2 years until it just becomes guest quarters and then is only lived in maybe 4 to 6 weeks out of the year, something like that. It's gonna be the same amount of work, costs more, and I just don't think it's necessary in this application. Another option is to install netting on the bottom of the joist and then blow insulation in. But it's going to take just as long to staple up netting on the underside before I even start blowing insulation in as traditional fiberglass will just to simply install. You could do it though, Minion. You would be good at it. One other option is to take foam board, cut it into strips, put glue on it, and stick it right up to the subfloor. That might be the most labor-intensive way of all of them. Fiberglass is cheap, super easy, and the option I went for. There's a couple options for insulating really tight.
Huh? Okay, well, that's cool. What? It's okay then, sure.
The same target created a saturation effect, guaranteeing that some of the shots hit the enemy. In many instances, it was the sheer volume of fire that decided the outcome of an encounter. A regiment that could shoot 4 shots in a minute had a clear advantage over one that could only return 2 or 3. Volley fire helped take down large sections of an opposing force, which could break morale and cause a rout. By maintaining a cohesive formation, infantry could present itself as a united front against a cavalry charge, as few horses are willing to impale themselves on a wall of bayonets. There was one downside to this formation, however. Closed formations were more vulnerable to artillery fire. By staying in formation, the men would know who was on either side of them and keep unit cohesion. It was imperative to stay in formation to avoid loss of organization and keep lines from breaking.
Why millions of rounds of ammunition were abandoned in a mine is not what you think. In May 2023, a huge weapons stockpile was discovered in the Soledar salt mines close to the front lines of the ongoing war in Ukraine. Deep within the mines lies a former Soviet weapons storage facility first established in the 1960s, now under Russian control. 500 feet underground, the numerous factories reportedly contain over 200,000 boxes of AKs, Maxims, and even a recoilless gun in various states of disrepair, with millions of rounds of ammunition. Even crates of untouched M1 Thompson submachine guns hailing back to the World War II Allied Lend-Lease program to the Soviet Union have been found. But why keep them here? Salt mines have very low humidity and are usually kept at constant temperatures, creating the perfect conditions to store materials without concerns of rust or deterioration. But as of July 2023, only some of these weapons have been distributed, with Thompsons making their way into the hands of Luhansk People's Republic militiamen, rather than frontline fighters likely due to the obsolescence of these weapons. Why millions...
Stop. Are we gonna have Tommy guns? That's gonna be funny. That's gonna be funny. Oh, boys. The Mafia turns up to a war. Holy... The Mafia being the Chicago Mafia, not the other Mafia that no one talks about. They're good boys. How you doing, Andy?
Today I'm breaking out the turbo go-kart and giving it some upgrades. First I had to remove the rust my eBay turbo built up, then I tried polishing the turbo itself to give it a bit more of a shine. Then I got rid of the crappy charge pipe and used a stainless steel hose to make sure it actually holds boost. I also fixed the bearings in the wheel so hopefully they don't break again. It took a little while to get it to run right, but once it did I started testing it and it runs okay at idle. It starts to die at a quarter throttle, and once you give it full throttle it puts you in the back of your seat. Stay tuned because next I'm adding nitrous. Today
nice.
In the TV series Band of Brothers, many paratroopers experienced a jarring impact when they jumped at Normandy. This happened because of the type of parachute they used, which was different from the one shown in the series. The parachute they used was called a T1, and when it deployed, the canopy
T1! What?
came out first, followed by the suspension lines and then the risers connected to the harness. This design caused the canopy to fill with air before all the lines were fully deployed. As a result, the canopy acted as a brake, causing the paratroopers to come to a sudden stop when it fully opened. The heavier the paratrooper and the more equipment they were carrying, the stronger the sudden stop or shock felt. Nowadays, modern parachutes deploy in the opposite way, with the lines deploying first and then the canopy. This greatly reduces the impact when the parachute opens. On D-Day, the paratroopers also faced the challenge of using leg bags, which they hadn't practiced with before. Additionally, the aircraft flew faster than expected to avoid enemy fire, which made the opening shock even stronger. In the TV series Band...
Interesting.
What would happen if I didn't give the dog any commands? Let's go find out.
Ah, he's a good boy. He waits.
So, if I don't give her a command to start it off, she doesn't do anything. And this is because a well-trained sheepdog should know it doesn't do anything that it's not asked to do. If a dog was to go out looking for work by itself, it may injure itself, it may injure the sheep, not to mention technically it would be worrying them sheep. So if you don't give a sheepdog any commands, it doesn't do anything. What would happen if I didn't give the dog any commands?
This box contains plutonium, and not just any plutonium, but a pretty special sample. When I was in the United States, I was lucky enough to be given a tour of the University of California, Berkeley by my friend Phil. It's a beautiful campus filled with intimidating buildings and Australian gum trees. Around 1940, a dream collaboration of researchers worked here. Lawrence's radiation group had just invented the cyclotron, which allowed them to synthesize new radioactive elements for the very first time. Seaborg's chemistry group could then characterize the physical and chemical properties of these new elements, often only working on very, very small samples. Oppenheimer's quantum physics group was also nearby, helping them to understand the fundamental nuclear processes occurring. And that's exactly where this sample was made. This is the first sample of plutonium ever made that is large enough to be visible to the human eye and to be weighed. It is a small amount of black metal deposited onto a tiny platinum disc. It was the largest sample ever produced at the time. Within less than 3 years of this sample being made, the Trinity nuclear test exploded 6 kilograms of plutonium, a rate of scientific advancement perhaps unparalleled in human history. This box contains plutonium, and not just any plutonium.
Why didn't the Marine infantry enter World War II with M1 Garand? Most believe the Marines got screwed over by the Army, but in reality it was due to the Corps' conservatism. The Marines were skeptical of the new semi-automatic design and fond of the bolt-action M1903's reliability. The USMC did adopt the M1 in February 1941, years after the Army, but believed it needed to be further refined. So rear echelon units would get earlier production M1s first, allowing combat units to get better versions later. Marine divisions and Marines overseas continued to be issued M1903s, while stateside guard units got M1s. The USMC received 24,000 M1s in 1941, more than enough to arm 2 Marine divisions. But the replacement of the M1903 in all units wasn't ordered until June 1942, so ironically, the 3rd Defense Battalion, a coastal artillery and anti-aircraft unit, came ashore on Guadalcanal with a couple hundred M1s, while the infantry had M1903s. So that's why didn't the Marine infantry enter World War II?
3 reasons why we no longer use Rottweilers in police work. So reason number 1, intimidation factor. Big, strong, black dog, that's super scary. It's not good for optics. Number two, the bite force of these dogs is no joke. We're talking about, we used these dogs back in the 80s in the City of Miami Police Department, and we have actual records of the dogs biting so hard they would actually break human bone.
Oof.
And reason number three, they got doggy ADD, baby. So you could be searching for a serial killer, an armed suspect, and the dog's on its mission to do what it's supposed to do, and butterfly. 3 reasons why we no longer use Rottweilers in...
All right, I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Austin. We went down to the Southern Alberta Truck Show this weekend, and he won first place for Bobtail Rig.
Nice.
It's a 1973 Kenworth W923. Big cam 400 with a 5-4 transmission and a mechanical winch. So why did Austin win?
Now that is a
first place
truck.
over some absolutely beautiful show trucks? It's what he does with it. He works this old girl. Literally, the night before the truck show, he was out moving equipment till 3 a.m. He literally left the truck show and went back to moving equipment. Austin is one of the most nicest guys and one of the most old school gear jammers I know. There could not have been a better person to win that award. Just goes to show, you don't have to have the fanciest truck with the nicest paint job. It's what you do with the truck that matters. There is something impressive that no amount of chrome can replace when you take a 50-year-old truck and work it daily off highway doing heavy haul. Austin actually came out to the shop for a week to help us design and build this cab too.
Nice.
I want to give a big shout out.
Physiques from the Bronze Era of bodybuilding were known for being shredded. While they certainly looked impressive, the reality is that most of them weighed somewhere around 140 to 180 pounds. However, there were of course a couple lifters who broke this mold. For example, we have the famous George Hackenschmidt, who weighed around 200 to 220 pounds. But even he would have felt small next to this guy, a German strongman named Hermann Göhner. He was massive, weighing between 245 and 265 pounds. And we're not talking about your typical chubby strongman either. Göhner was pretty lean and even had a six-pack. This Bronze Era mass monster proves to us that a huge physique without steroids is entirely possible. Physiques from the Bronze Era of bodybuilding...
You just gotta eat a lot of steak. Huh? Interesting. That's a good idea.
First of all, my ticket to Seattle was quite expensive because I was flying around the 4th of July. It was like $1,000 and some change, and we actually looked at upgrading the seats to first class just to see what it was. That was an extra $716 on top of it. Now, what first class was versus what I thought it was 2 very different things. And I know I probably got my ideas from movies or something, so don't make fun of me. But I kind of envisioned sitting in this beautiful, luxurious part of the airplane where you're eating steak and eggs and everybody behind you and coach is eating peanuts. That was not the case. I walked through first class on the way to get to my coach seat. The people in first class were already sitting down. The seats were a third of the size bigger. They were already eating their tiny little bag of pretzels, which everybody got. But I had to wait like 2 hours till I could eat them because that's how long it took them to get back to me. You got more space, you get snacks first, maybe you get double snacks, I don't know. Even if I had millions of dollars, which I know you said that as a joke, still, like, there's still a better use for that money, regardless of how much of it you have. First of all, my ticket to Seattle was quite expensive because I was flying around the 4th of July. It was like $1,000 and some change.
Ticket to Seattle. That depends, like, how... We need to know the time! How long was the flight? Was the flight like 8 hours? Because it depends on some planes. Some planes, if you look at travel videos, like Trek Trendy and stuff, he'll show you first class, and on some of them, on long haul flights, they're pretty good. They seem pretty nice. They're a bit expensive, but you know, if you're 12 hours on a plane, you kinda don't want to fly coach. You can, but rest in peace. So, if it's anything under like 4 hours, coach is fine. Coach is fine. Who cares? Who cares? It's fine. Nothing wrong with it.
Did you know in the movie 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, as Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle's plane readies for takeoff, the flight deck officer carefully observes the motion of the ship's bow as it gracefully rises and falls with the ocean waves. Recognizing the opportunity to optimize the aircraft's performance, the officer chooses to wait for the bow to ascend on a wave, creating a slight incline on the flight deck. This advantageous tilt grants the aircraft additional lift during takeoff, allowing for a smoother departure from the deck. Moreover, the strategic timing of the takeoff provides the heavy B-25 bomber with a few extra feet of clearance above the water, ensuring a safer and more successful departure from the aircraft carrier. Did you know in the movie 30 Seconds Over Tokyo,
we may have learned the location...
Oh, the tonk!
Did you...
No,
back. We may have learned the location of the tonk. However, in that video, I unfortunately forgot to explain what exactly the tonk is made out of. The tonk is built out of parts from an M60 tank, with them most likely being from one of the 300 M60A1 tanks used by Italy. The turret of the tonk is actually the M19 Commander's Cupola, which was originally armed with a 50 caliber machine gun. That weapon was swapped out for a dummy barrel, and the assembly rests atop 2 road wheels and a short segment of track, likely taken from an M60A1 as well. It is unclear the fate of the original tank, but it was likely either modernized or scrapped. We may have learned the location of the tonk. However, in that video,
Things you thought were
Tonk is
legal
best
are
tonk.
actually really illegal. Number 1. Sneak tickle. No. Tickling without consent could be assault and battery. Respect personal space. Number 2. Throwing out your trash. Hey. Well, sometimes if you throw it in your neighbor's bins.
You want to throw your garbage in there, you better start paying for my trash service.
It was 1 can.
I am a stay-at-home dad. If you don't think I have nothing better to do than turn this into a problem, think again, pal.
All right, I'll take it out. Oops, grabbed a Sharpie. Freeze! What are you doing? Number 3, no Sharpies. You can't arrest me for having a marker. I can if you were intending to vandalize property with it.
I saw the whole thing, officer. He definitely intended to vandalize my cans.
I've heard enough. Anti-graffiti laws in places like parts of Florida, California, and New York ban permanent markers in public places.
What?
You unscrupulous vandal.
Ha! That's what you get. Another win for stay-at-home dads.
Oh, get a hobby, Logan. You guys have been at camp for weeks. Right now, you're just a stay-at-home guy.
Okay.
Good. When the police tell you you're allowed to walk around with a gun, but oh my god, he's got an assault Sharpie! No! Have you got a license for your marker, dude? What? That's crazy. That's crazy. You go to Florida, you just gotta have like a whole pack of Sharpies now. Just a bunch of them, just in case. Just in case, you know. Get pulled over by the cops. Scribble, scribble, scribble.
This is how overflowing sewers brought rhubarb to Scotland. This is Prestonfield House, and it is the first place in Scotland to grow rhubarb. It all started in the summer of 1679, when former owner James Dick was elected Lord Mayor. At the time, Edinburgh had a real sanitation problem. It was an incredibly overcrowded medieval city that produced a lot of human waste. Some buildings even towered 14 stories high, and the only way to empty the chamber pot was to throw the poo out the window. But big man James Dick came along and amazingly offered to collect the waste at his own expense and bring it back to his country estate. The city was stunned that the mayor, a man of such status, would offer to do such a horrid task with his own money. But he had a secret. He was hoarding the poo of Edinburgh because he'd fallen in love with a little-known plant called rhubarb, a tart and generally unpleasant vegetable stock that the mayor just couldn't get enough of. So much so that he drank the city's flowing rivers of shite straight into his own rhubarb patches full of fertilizer. The restaurant at Prestonfield House is now lovingly called Rhubarb, where they serve some of the finest rhubarb you can hope to find, straight from the fields and rich from the chamber pots of 17th century Edinburgh. This is how overflowing sewers brought rhubarb to Scotland.
Hey, look, I never eat rhubarb, but rhubarb tart, actually lovely. Actually lovely.
This is a vintage American Lock Series 10. It was kindly sent by Ethan Dolan, a follower who had contacted me mentioning that they were having trouble with this particular lock and wanted to see how fast I'd be able to. And we got it open using the top driver from the Arbiter set, which is the quickest and easiest method for opening this lock. Using traditional tools, a 50 thousandths ergo turner is ideal for applying top of the keyway tension. Because the keyway is not paracentric and allows a full range of motion, I'll be using a short hook and levering technique to set the pins. While the middle finger is best used for Billy, here it's placed against the keyhole while the thumb and index control the depth of the pick. Another way we can open this lock is with a specialty 2-in-1 tool called a leashy. Not only is it both a pick and turning tool, but it can also be used to decode the lock. The numbers across the top show us the pin positions, and when correctly picked, the numbers on the side tell us the length of the key pins or how far each needs to be set. The best part, however, is that we can use this information to open the lock another way. This is a vintage American Lock Series 10.
Interesting.
It was kindly sent by Nathan Dolan, a follower who had contacted me mentioning that they were having...
Oh, we gotta watch the first one again, just...
And wanted to see how fast I'd be able to... And we got it open using the bypass driver from the Arbiter set, which is the quickest...
I mean...
for opening this lock.
Holy! Who needs bolt cutters? Just pick the lock, it's so cool.
Purchasing this home and want to have the septic tank inspected. The listing agent insisted this was the only septic tank on the property. It's a cesspit, bone dry. My brother immediately knew there had to be another septic tank. Unfortunately, the home had no sewer cleanout, so we had to flush a Prototech flushable transmitter down the toilet. This is going to send out a signal, and our rigid Navatrack Scout is going to pick up that signal and tell us exactly where the tank is. It's 4 feet 9 inches down. Since it was so deep, we brought out the excavator to uncover both of the lids. Popped open the inlet side lid first. You can see the transmitter is right there in the inlet baffle. I'm going to pull it out of there and turn it off. These are reusable. I believe they last about 8 to 10 hours. Now that we have both the lids popped open, I'm going to start by pumping down the inlet side. It was kind of settling at the bottom, so I brought out the crust buster to mix up a poop smoothie. Smells like
Yep.
Why you always want to locate and dig up the access ports to the septic tank, because this customer was wanting to put a pool back here. And ever there's a customer should be good to go in the next 35 years. Call, they're purchasing this home and want to have...
If you've ever wondered how Los Angeles is the nation's capital of veteran homelessness and...
There is a scene in the movie Enemy at the Gates where one of the snipers burns his fingers on a field stove and quickly rubs them behind his ears. This action may seem peculiar at first glance, but it actually has some basis in reality. When someone burns their fingers, it is natural to look for ways to alleviate the pain and prevent further damage. One method that some people employ is to rub their fingers on certain parts of their body that may contain accumulated body oil, such as behind the ears. The rationale behind this is that body oil can act as a natural lubricant and create a protective barrier between the burn and the environment, reducing the chances of blistering. Additionally, touching the earlobes after burning the fingers can provide a form of heat transfer. The earlobes, like other parts of the body, contain blood vessels close to the surface of the skin. By touching the earlobes, some heat from the burned fingers can be transferred to the cooler skin of the ears, helping to dissipate the heat and provide temporary relief from the pain. There is a scene in the movie...
Interesting.
There's a U.S. Navy ship docked now in New York City, the USS Wasp. It's an amphibious vessel. Let's go for a tour.
Welcome to our ship. This is USS Wasp, started in 1775, one of the very first warships that we had in the continental United States Navy. We are amphibious, a very uniquely designed ship. We're a flat bottom, which allows us to get us close to 1 mile to shore. We can actually fill our well deck to about 12 feet of water and flood the ship without sinking it. So this is our hangar bay, and this is where we take care of our aircraft. We put them on aircraft elevators and drop them down into the hangar bay to do maintenance. All of that is done on the ship.
A lot of people sometimes think it's just soldiers and Navy men and women, but there's a lot of work that goes behind it. My grandfather was in the U.S. Army cook for the Korean War.
This is the door to our medical department. We are outfitted to do everything from any minor injury that you might have to full-blown surgery. So this is our flight deck.
This does function as an aircraft carrier.
Yes, and over there is our MV-22.
Oh, nice.
Up there is where our bridge is, where the magic happens.
Wow, that was so interesting. Stay curious, my friend. There's a U.S. Navy ship docked now.
Nice. Oh, what is that gun? Oh, that's horrendous.
Learn to drive! What are you talking about? Did you learn to drive from your grandma? I got something for you.
Good lord.
Get into these chicken Alfredo egg rolls.
What?
I don't think you guys understand. My life has changed forever. Get so close right now. It is different. Get closer. It's not the same. Get closer. You're too close. Back it up.
No, keep backing up.
Is it possible to want something your entire life that you had no idea existed until recently? All right, because here's the thing. Right? I didn't have time to make the fettuccine Alfredo. So what I did was I went down to my local Italian restaurant. I got fettuccine Alfredo and I got a shrimp scampi. All right, I put both of them in double wrapped egg rolls, fried them up. I tried them each. Literally, I can no longer have food the same way anymore. It was so delicious. And now my parents think I'm a genius. I hope they don't realize that I'm not, but it's so good.
Let's get into these.
What is it? It's pasta with like cheese inside what, like an egg wrap? I mean that. Nah, man. Nah, man. Where's the meat? There's no meat in it. It's just man, it's just sad.
Have you ever wondered why the Pentagon is shaped like a pentagon? Why not a rectangle or any other shape? Most people think it's to make it like a bastion fort, a medieval fortification design known for its resiliency towards attacks, but that actually has nothing to do with it. In the year 1941, America was preparing to enter World War II, but its War Department was spread across 17 separate locations. They needed a new, larger building to coordinate its military efforts. The site chosen was called Arlington Farm, right beside the Arlington National Cemetery. The problem? While located perfectly, the shape of the farm plot was rather peculiar. Before ground was broken on the new building, the adjacent highway got relocated, allowing for a normal-shaped building after all. But the architects didn't change the design to a more traditional rectangular building. Why? Because they were under immense pressure to finish the project quickly, and changing the design would have delayed the process. So we got a pentagon. Have you ever wondered why the Pentagon is shaped like a pentagon?
Well, it is cool though. It is cool. Oh, here we go. Oh, very nice. Very nice.
One more reason why you shouldn't ban e-collars, and that is that Mr. Bayo here is a trained protection dog and a trained service dog for his owner who is wheelchair bound. While I've been training in the last few weeks, I thought about it. I'm like, how on earth do you wheel around in a wheelchair and control your protection dog? Well, that ain't gonna happen with a leash, folks, because you know why? My freaking hands are tied up. I can't tie the leash up to the wheelchair because that would be just stupid. In case he chases after something, we're gonna go for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Well, how about you say, oh, people in a wheelchair shouldn't have a protection dog? Why not? They deserve a protection dog just as much as you do, if not even more so. What about a smaller dog? Well, a smaller dog is going to help with protection work, number one. And number two, many people in a wheelchair use a large dog like this to get in and out of wheelchairs. What about purely positive training? Well, purely positive training is a f***ing pipe dream, folks. It doesn't work. Not when you have a dog with actual drive that has prey drive and sees something. How on earth am I supposed to get him to come back if he takes off after something unless I have an e-collar? One more reason why you shouldn't ban e-collars, and that is that...
Did the U.S. Army use snipers in World War II? Well, it's complicated. It can be easy to think of anyone with a magnified scope on their weapon as a sniper, but strictly speaking, snipers are sharpshooters who fire from covert positions at long ranges and often operate alone or in small teams. The US Army did have scoped rifles in World War II, but they weren't really sniper rifles. These rifles, like the M1C and M1D...
What are you loading? Go away. I clicked on the thing. Sorry.
They have low magnification scopes that would allow a soldier to see a bit further and shoot a bit more precisely. But the soldiers using them were typically embedded in an infantry squad, not operating separately to go pick off enemies from long range. And as always, there are some exceptions to that. Now, the US Marines in World War II had some higher magnification scopes, and they did make some use of snipers. Even with that considered, the US didn't use snipers nearly as much as many other militaries at the time. Did the US Army use snipers in World War II? Well, it's complicated.
Nice. Perfect. Perfect. Woof.
I like to call this one Parting the Red Sea, one of the more biblical cuts we've seen in the Common Era. After being rejected as a runway model, she decided to put the...
This is a bill hook, sometimes simply bill. And this was, in its day, the most popular weapon with the Englishmen. It's got a choppy bit there, which is based very closely on an agricultural implement. If you want to manage your hedges, for instance, or prune a tall fruit tree, you'd use something like this, a billhook. And there's many people around the country who were quite proficient at cutting with a billhook. But when the blast of war sounded in people's ears, they welded on a spike on the end, which turned it into a bit of a spear, and a spike on the back because, well, more spikes probably helped. And so if some Frenchman rode past you, you could hook him with that bit, you could chop him with this bit, you could poke him with that bit, and you could poke him again with that bit. And, it generally did the job. And it's a very English thing. Ah, England. The billhook. This is a billhook.
Hey guys, here's about 2% of the absolute shockers we found at this property. So the general pointing was shocking. The backing board on this electric meter box was completely loose. Look at this. We got deviation to the canopy, fixing covers missing on the canopy. We got a mastic seal missing along the top of the upstand. We got loads of damage to the brickwork. We got an end cap missing to the threshold. The slab paving is absolutely shocking. Look at the finish on that. That's ridiculous. This outside light is damaged.
Oh my gosh!
We got loads and loads of damaged bricks around the property. Look at this. We've got massive mortar joints in some places, and we got absolutely tiny mortar joints in other places. This penetration hole through the wall hasn't been sealed. This threshold is overhanging excessively. We've got packers protruding underneath. And guys, honestly, this is just about 2% of the issues I found at this entire property. It's absolutely shocking.
God bless.
Hey guys.
Right, where did Mr. Music go? Over here. Right. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just give you a song here because I'm gonna go put on some food.
This.
People 105.
Yeah. Alright, I'll be back in a sec. Although like a few minutes. You have a song.
Meet me on the rooftop in the night. I'm gonna give it to you. Come and get my love delight. Oh, something's got me so delighted, baby. I see your face in everything I do. You got me shook up, shook down, shook out on your loving, and boy, there is just no way I'll ever get over you.
Alright. Who knows what was on? But that's the end of that.
I was living in Thailand, and I had this Russian girlfriend, and then she went back to Russia, and I was a bit lonely, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try and get myself a new girlfriend. And by coincidence, the same day, I met this beautiful Swedish girl. I went up to her and started saying hello, blah, blah, blah. We agreed to go for a drink that night. After talking to her, I was walking home, and as I was walking, this transsexual, who must have been about 55, 56, had a couple teeth missing, and he/she pointed at me and said, hey, I can tell by how you walk. You have a big dick.
What the fuck?
And I looked back and I said, yes, that's true. Thank you very much. And I continued on my walk. Until 9 o'clock rolls around, I get on my motorcycle. I go down to this bar to meet this Swedish girl. After an hour and a half of drinking and enjoying each other's company, a transsexual walks in the bar and in front of the entire bar and points to me across the bar and goes, dick. And the entire bar and I tried to explain for the following 10 minutes to this Swedish girl that I've never slept with this person. I don't know why she says I have a big dick, and I've never been with her, and I don't know, and I just saw her on the street. She went and never returned. I was living in Thailand.
Have you ever heard of tanker M1 Garands? These are M1 Garands that were shortened to make them a bit lighter and easier to wield, and judging by their name, it sounds like they were popular with tankers for that reason. Except they weren't. Now, these so-called tanker Garands do exist, but they weren't actually used by the military like many people think. These were sold on the commercial market starting around the 1960s, and the tanker name was just made up to market them. The US military did experiment with shortened M1 Garands during World War II, and they even ordered a production run of a shortened model called the T-26, but those were canceled because the war ended before production started. So no, the US Army wasn't issuing shortened M1 Garands during World War II or any other time. That doesn't mean you can't think those shortened commercial M1 Garands are cool. I think they're pretty neat myself. But it does mean that if someone tries to sell you a shortened M1 that was used in World War II for thousands of dollars, you should probably pass. If you want to learn more about shortened M1s, I recommend looking up this article. Have you ever heard of...
Interesting.
Talk about Robert Todd Lincoln. He was Abraham Lincoln's son, and in 1863 or 64, he slipped at the New Jersey train depot, was almost crushed by a train car, but his life was saved when a man reached out and grabbed him, pulled him back. That man's name was Edwin Booth. Booth was traveling that day with his friend, John T. Ford, and a year later, Edwin's brother, John Wilkes Booth, assassinated Robert's father at John T. Ford's theater. Robert was a half-mile away at the White House when it happened, and that would turn out to be the furthest he would ever be from a presidential assassination in his lifetime. That's right, 3 presidents were assassinated during Robert's lifetime, and he happened to be near all 3 of them. He was at the Pan American Expo in Buffalo, New York, when McKinley was assassinated, and he was President Garfield's Secretary of War and was with him on the platform in D.C. and witnessed his assassination. He eventually decided to stop hanging out with presidents. Oh, by the way, I visited the grave of John Wilkes Booth a few years ago, and it's customary when you visit to leave a little copper portrait of his victim right there on his tombstone. Let's talk about Robert Todd.
Nice.
Some things on the West Coast are far different than in the East. One of the most notable things is the gas prices. And on the positive side, there's little coffee shops everywhere. These things are awesome. I found myself in Seattle a couple times. This is the famous Pike Place Market, and this is where they throw the fish. I don't know why they throw the fish, but it's totally a big tourist attraction. It is definitely entertaining. I believe everything here is caught fresh right off the coast. Most things they have are somewhat common, although octopus I don't think is that common. And these crabs and crab legs, they're massive. I don't think I've ever seen whole crabs quite that size. I have seen Alaskan crab legs before. Then I found this pretty girl carrying flowers, walked past some really bizarre stores, and saw my first jellyfish in the wild. Also saw a starfish, although it doesn't look like it made it. I was hoping to see a live one, but I just couldn't see one anywhere. Driving around some more, found another gas station with $5 gas. I wasn't going to film anything in here, but something seemed out of the ordinary to me, and that would be this beer tap.
Ooh.
Some things on the West Coast are far different
Nice.
than in the East.
Did you know that 45% of American dogs sleep every night in their owner's bed? Which is why one of the most common questions I get asked when being interviewed is, should owners let their dogs sleep in their beds? And my honest answer is, well, it depends. If you're perfectly happy and content with your dog's behavior in every aspect.
Jacob Wells. I'm a customer coming into the shop, and I've got an all FD AR-15. I want to trick it out, but only in FDE. What accoutrements do you got for me?
50 Shades of FDE, let's go.
Huh?
For starters, light. Can't shoot what you can't see. Surefire.
Okay.
Great light. Gonna go to swing. Keep it on you. FDE. Gotta get the new furniture. Gotta have a new stock. SOP mod. B5 systems. Can't shoot what you can't aim at. Gotta have the sights. Flip ups. We'll just doll it up a little bit. Put a little bit of extras on there. Vert grip. BCM. I love those things. Keep it nice and tight. Gotta have the Radian Raptor. FDE. Absolutely. And FDE mag. We'll just make it pretty with that trigger guard.
Okay.
Anti-homeless
Sure.
Wi-Fi will change your neighborhood. A public library in San Francisco.
This is
That's
a gas
okay.
pump that I saw today. And this is a gas pump from the 1940s. This one was a diesel gas pump. It still has its gas pump handle. There's not even a spot for $1.38 or $2.38. Total sale can't even go above $9. And that sight glass right there, as the fuel would run through it, you would see this turning in a circle to show you that gas or fuel was going through this. And you can even see remnants of green paint still on this, showing that this was a diesel specific pump. You can open up the front face, every part is there, and the pump down here that would turn and pump the gas up through the pump and out through the handle. It's been sitting in the sun for so many years that they're faded white, but if you look at the underneath, you can see where it was painted black, and at night, these would light up. There was a light in the globe, so at night, you could see the pump all lit up. Do you think we could actually make this pump diesel again? This is a gas pump that I saw.
Typically, the World War II reenactment events I attend fall into a few different categories. The first is living history events, where we set up a World War II style camp with displays for visitors to see. These are often a part of air shows or timeline history events where World War II history isn't the only focus. Then you have public battle reenactments. These events are usually specific to one time period or even one battle. For these, we set up displays just like living history events, but at some point there's a loosely scripted battle to demonstrate things like weapons, troop movements, and vehicles in action. And finally, there are tacticals or private battle reenactments. These events are just for the reenactors, and the fighting is totally unscripted. These events allow you to put yourself in the shoes of a World War II soldier on the front line. Obviously, nothing can come even close to mimicking actual World War II battlefield conditions, but it definitely teaches you a lot and gives you a better appreciation for what those guys went through. Typically, the World War II...
We saved this super rare 2007 Ram 2500 turbo diesel from total devastation.
F-89, which direction would you like us to face?
Oh, you better face the front, sir, because if you're looking at the passengers and trying to fly, they get scared.
Sorry, looks like what's like a big bag chair. A big bag chair. All right, is there like a lava lamp and six-pack out there, too? Absolutely, disco ball as well. All right, let me get the Port Authority out there to party with it.
Coast 415, I've always wanted to say this. Thanks for the opportunity. Direct to weed.
Yeah, direct weed. Echo 415, right on, brother.
15.8 for 1-1 with Echo. You didn't like my joke?
Oh, I like it, actually. It was pretty good, actually.
Been waiting all day for an Echo.
I'm going to use it next time, too.
All yours.
Cafe 70 heading cross straight left on Delta, contact ground point 8. Keep that big body moving.
Delta 401, Lima Alpha entry, and it's going to be occupied for another 7 minutes. 7. That's a level of specificity I've never heard from the Delta ramp, but I'll put the stopwatch on and you can hold short of Lima Alpha.
F-89, which direction would you like us to face?
Oh, you better face...
No! Oh, what is that? Oh, it's like a 2C or something.
This
yeah,
monument
it's
marks
goofy.
a time era in Edinburgh's past. Edinburgh's old town features hundreds of tiny, cramped alleyways that veer off the main roads.
Above one of these alleyways, named Paisley Close, is a monument to tragic events of the past. In the 1800s, these small alleyways were overcrowded slums. Poor sanitation and no building regulations meant that these places were not only gross places to live, but also really dangerous. Whole families would live in small rooms in poorly built houses that could be as tall as 14 stories high. Not surprisingly, fires and collapses were quite common. One of these buildings collapsed here in 1861, killing almost half of the building's 77 inhabitants. When rescuers were digging through the rubble, they found 12-year-old Joseph McIver, the boy from the monument, who despite falling 4 stories and having a building land on top of him, was pretty much unharmed. These tragic events led to an overhaul of these poorly constructed buildings, improving the city and saving countless lives. This hidden monument...
Alright,
There's barely any water in the bag. That's the bare minimum of water. If it even tilts, the goldfish is going to suffocate and die. Anytime I post a video of me shipping my goldfish, people complain or they'll ask, why such little water? And before I explain why, let me show you that even if the package is tilted on one side or tilted on the other, the goldfish will always be fully submerged by the water. I put just enough water to make sure they can be fully submerged. I want their entire body and gills to always be wet. So why don't I fill the entire bag with water like this one person is suggesting? Well, the more water there is in the bag, the less room for breathable oxygen there is. But Luke, there's oxygen in water, H2O. Don't fish breathe that oxygen and H2O? No, absolutely not. That oxygen isn't going anywhere. They breathe O2, just like we do. The oxygen in the air is the same kind of oxygen the fish breathe. It just has to be dissolved within the water. The pure oxygen I put in the bag dissolves within the water and the fish breathe that. There's barely any water.
Okay. That was pretty cool. That was pretty
Did you know
cool.
that during the filming of Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger bet a bottle of champagne with the actor Jesse Ventura to see who had the biggest arm? And why would anyone take this bet against the legendary former bodybuilder, 7-time Mr. Olympia champion? Well, because the wardrobe department, which knows the measurements of all the actors, had secretly confirmed to Ventura that his arm was 3 centimeters larger than Arnold. And when the expected moment of the measurements arrived, to Ventura's surprise, Arnold won with an arm 3 centimeters larger. What had happened? Well, Arnold had guessed his intentions, and had previously spoken with the wardrobe department so that they would lie about his arm, and Ventura trusts himself. Did you know that during the filming of Predator, Arnold...
Damn sneaky.
It seems like some people are confused about how the loading mechanism on an M1 Garand works. Comments on my last video were saying that the bolt mechanism can't start closing the bolt until you release pressure from the clip you're loading. This is a misconception, and you can prove this for yourself by loading a clip pushing only on the clip itself. I'm using a pen here to save my thumb. You can clearly see the bolt releases as soon as the clip clicks into place. It doesn't wait for you to remove pressure. Now you can push down on the top round in a clip that you're loading. That way the friction between your thumb and that round holds the bolt open when it tries to close. But there's no mechanism waiting for you to release pressure, just good old friction from your thumb. It's important to understand how this works because if you think the bolt can't close until you release pressure, but you're accidentally pushing on the clip instead of the top round, or maybe your thumb's wet and doesn't have the friction it normally does, etc., you could risk having the bolt closed before you want it to, and maybe even getting a dose of the dreaded Garand thumb. So keep that hand in front of the op rod handle while you're loading. It seems like some people are...
Foods British people would miss if they lived in medieval times. The food you eat in medieval London is very different to the food you eat today. A lot of foods just haven't arrived yet. Potatoes, tomatoes, chilies, chocolate, sweet corn, peanuts, turkey, they all come from the Americas, which means we don't have them yet. And that means a lot of the staple British foods that we think about as having been around forever would have been totally unknown in the medieval period. If there's no potatoes, you can't have fish and chips, bangers and mash, shepherd's pie, or prawn cocktail crisps. If there's no tomatoes, you can't have baked beans on toast. Without chilies, there's no tikka masala on a Friday night. And tea, not until the 17th century. Foods British people would miss.
Oh my god.
This is one of the reasons it's so useful to help your child develop extremely polished manners. Because what happens if you have well-mannered kids who say please and thank you and who know how to shake hands and introduce themselves and who are sensible enough to listen to an adult, then they will charm the adult, not in an instrumental way, a manipulative way, but they'll charm the adults, and the adults will reveal the best part of them, and then they'll offer the kids all sorts of opportunities. And so what a deal that is for your kids. This is one of the reasons it's so useful to help your child develop extremely polished manners. Because what happens if you have well-mannered kids who say please and thank you and who know how to shake hands and introduce themselves and who are sensible enough to listen to an adult, then they will charm the adult, not in an instrumental way, a manipulative way, but they'll charm the adults, and the adults will reveal the best part of them, and then they'll offer the kids all sorts of opportunities. And so what a deal that is for your kids. This is one of the reasons.
All right. Music. Alright. I will be back in like 2 minutes. 3 minutes. We'll see. Who knows? I'm gonna go see if I can put on food now. That's about it. Alright, how's that going? Is that a bit quiet? Oh, it's probably a bit quiet. Sounds a bit quiet. Sorry about that. Anyway. Didn't refresh. Click again. Keep clicking. Ah, someone. There we go.
Oh, hey. How's it going? Big mechs, small mechs, fast mechs, slow mechs, car mechs, French mechs. I like mecha anime.
I'll kill you.
I build Gundams. I play Battletech. I mourn Titanfall. Gone too soon.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at here is I dig giant robots. You dig giant robots.
Mhm.
Chicks dig giant robots. If it has a mech in it, it automatically elevates a story. I don't make the rules. Except for here. Who thought this was a good idea? For decades, mechs have been a staple of animation. And for decades, that's really all they could be. Or, if anything else, pieces of plastic that nerds put together. Like me. When it came to live-action representation of mechs, there weren't a lot of options out there. Mechs had to either be guys in suits, or stop motion. It was only with the invention of CGI that mechs could be imagined in a new light. Yeah, throughout the 2000s, Hollywood movie mechs just kind of followed the same design. There wasn't anything that even slightly resembled mecha. Which is why when one movie came out, a movie that focused entirely on giant mechs fighting things, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Something that even to this day, still feels truly special. Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is not a perfect movie, but it's a movie that sets out to do one thing really well. And that thing is mechs and kaiju killing each other.
That's fun. It's fun and it's cool.
Pacific Rim is straight out of the mind of a nerdy 10-year-old. Giant monsters are destroying the world, and there's only one thing that can stop them. Giant robots. It's an almost laughably simple idea. Not all plots need to be overly complicated. They just have to be executed well. Pacific Rim isn't great just because it has kaiju fighting mechs. Pacific Rim is great because it knows how to show kaiju fighting mechs. It knows what the audience wants. Is it perfect? No, but you can tell there was a lot of effort and thought behind every inch of this film, even the parts that don't look it. Sometimes action cheese is all you need, and Pacific Rim is a bunch of queso, full of a love for kaiju films and love for mechs. And it's all thanks to a script written by Travis Beacham and a vision by director Guillermo del Toro.
This movie was made by people who love monsters and giant robots. For people who love monsters and giant robots.
It's like that single Krabby Patty SpongeBob made in that one episode. You know the one. That's an energy that can't be infused, no matter how many millions studios throw on a budget. So what is this big dumb robot movie actually about? What is a
Nah, it's gotta be reversed. No way he put a baby in a microwave.
Is it because I drove that school bus into the ocean? Underneath that kaiju costume, Pacific Rim is at its core an alien invasion movie. Just no alien movie you've ever seen. Who needs spaceships and flying saucers? Independence Day already did that. Can't top it.
Yeah.
No, sir, these aliens aren't coming from space. They're coming from the ocean, creating a wormhole at the bottom of the Pacific. But not to send themselves. Oh no. Like a Minecraft mob generator, they send monsters. Or I guess if we want to be technical about it, kaiju.
It's Godzilla.
As strange as that idea sounds, I have to admit, it's not a bad plan. I think we've all been reminded fairly recently just how much pressure is at the bottom of the ocean. Good luck sending anyone down there to stop them. It'd probably be easier just nuking a spaceship in orbit. At first, everyone is just powerless to stop these attacks, and the kaiju just keep coming. Any city around the Pacific can be flattened by a giant crab at a moment's notice, and traditional weapons just aren't cutting it. So a solution is thought up. An action that will stop the monsters once and for all. Nukes. Wait, what? Oh, they're not nuking the monsters. That would destroy the city too. Since when? Alright, well, guess we gotta go with the giant mech plan then. I guess. If you want to be boring. Like the movie tagline says, to fight monsters, we created monsters. And those monsters were Jaegers. Remember when nobody in America knew what the word Jaeger was? Better times. Jaegers are big. Bigger than your typical humanoid mech. Except for Gurren Lagann. Jesus.
In the span of a few years, the Pacific nations all band together to make bots the size of 40k Titans. If you've ever wondered what a Titan would look like in a modern-day city, well, there you go. And if you don't know what a Titan is, imagine a Jaeger with a church on his back. It's like that, but not at all. Jaegers do their jobs pretty well. They make the kaijus look like little bitches. And for a time, the giant robots just keep winning. Until they don't. I just watched this movie and I forgot what his name was. Kinda tells you all you need to know.
I'll see you around, Raleigh.
Raleigh isn't obnoxious or anything. He's perfectly fine. Acceptable. A generic protagonist. He'd be the main character in any 7th gen shooter. In a movie that has so many creative decisions, it's a little disappointing the main guy we focus on is so run-of-the-mill. Apparently that was on purpose. He was meant to be someone the guys in the audience would want to have a beer with. Sure, I guess. Rowley's kind of an audience conduit. A blank slate for any dumb teen American boy to imagine themselves piloting a giant-ass mech with his Japanese GF. But as the film begins, Rowley's co-pilot is his brother. Can't you tell how excited he is? Sure hope nothing bad happens that changes the trajectory of his life.
Raleigh, listen to me!
Dealing with the trauma of that happening, he officially retires being a Jaeger pilot. 5 years later, he's working construction on a wall.
The media won't tell you this, but we're building the wall.
Over the years,
Biggest wall we've ever built. Woo!
And most, along with their pilots, have just flat out died. It's actually really grim. And apparently in this movie's lore, the year where things really started taking a turn for the worst was, 2020. Make of that what you will. So the backup plan is this giant wall instead, like an even bigger version of the walls from Attack on Titan. And just like in that, the wall proves utterly useless at the beginning of the story. Raleigh is recruited back into the program, being one of the few pilots left who's not actually dead. And really that's kind of it. Rowley's a static character. The closest to an arc he gets is trying to get over his brother's death. But he never really is that reluctant to get back into being a pilot. In some other movie, I would imagine they'd make him more apprehensive about finding another pilot, and it spends a lot of time on that whole thing, but not Pacific Rim. After a sparring session, Raleigh immediately is impressed and wants Mako to be his co-pilot. And that's it for his character. Like, he's good to fight for the rest of the movie. There is not one dilemma in that brain. I think that's kind of the point. Because even though the movie starts with Raleigh and uses him as the POV character to introduce the audience into this new world, this isn't his movie to have an arc. It's Mako's. Mako is the adopted daughter of Marshall Pentecost. In my opinion, Idris Elba's best role. Well, not really, but, you know, he is cool in this. Elba has such an aura of authority that outshines every other character.
Mods, crush his skull.
While they are introduced later than Raleigh, I would call these two the actual main characters of the movie, considering just how much revolves around their relationship. After years of training, Mako is very clearly the best candidate to pilot a Jaeger, yet because he's protective, the Marshal keeps her on the sidelines. His whole arc is coming to terms that she's the best person for the job, and to let her go. And then Mako almost blows up the entire station. Oops. Yeah, so one of the most interesting parts of Pacific Rim is how the Jaegers are actually controlled. With your mind. Or two minds, actually. Two minds smushed together to make the Jaegers work. A process known as drifting. I love when mech fiction brings in a third element other than just the mech and the pilot. Sadly for me, the only thing I'm drift compatible with is this moldy potato. The tragedies it has endured have scarred me forever. Mako eventually...
No, poor potato.
That's the end plot for everyone in this movie. You get in the robot. Well, not everyone. Because I still haven't brought up, Charlie Day. Charlie Day is a scientist obsessed with anything kaiju related.
He's a kaiju groupie. He loves... Shut up, Herman. I don't love them.
Which, if you think about it, it's a little strange to have him in your Last Stand Jaeger base. I get he's probably great at his job, but think about how this would look in the real world. Millions dead from these things, and he has tattoos of them. Imagine if during the War on Terror, some top scientist went up to a commanding officer and was like, "Hey man, check out my tattoo. It's 9/11.
Shut up, Herman. I don't love them.
Smart boy Charlie has the brilliant idea to use the Jaeger drift technology to drift into a kaiju brain. Despite his friends suggesting that this is a really bad idea, he does it anyway. Just a quick side note, if this guy looks familiar, well, that's Burn Gorman. He appeared in the Sunny episode Flowers for Charlie, where Charlie is gaslit by a couple of scientists into thinking he took genius pills and is smart now. Spoilers, he wasn't.
To allow spiders to talk with cats! Alas, a complete failure.
I like to imagine that this is just a continuation of this episode. This is the same universe. Because just like Sunny, Charlie thinks he's smart, but he's really a dumbass. He wants to find out more about the kaiju. Since drifting is a two-way thing, the kaiju brain saw where the Jaeger base was located, giving away everyone's location. So the aliens send 2 kaiju to go get him. Good job, buddy. Do they want to eat him or take him away? We never find out. All we know is that this attack on Hong Kong only happens because of this guy. Do you think the deaths weigh on the mind of Charlie Day? Now that I think about it, nobody ever brings it up again. I don't think they ever find out he was responsible. The only person that really knows was Ron Perlman, and he got devoured by a fetus. Finally, the thing anyone came here for, the robots. The only thing anyone really remembers is the second half, the part with the mechs. Who am I to say though? Maybe you're a big fan of the subplot where the Australian guy has a beef with Rowley. The Hong Kong fight is this movie. If you couldn't tell, every Jaeger in Pacific Rim is from a country that sits on the Pacific Rim, and there's even little inspirations from their home country in their design, which I think is pretty neat. The Chinese have Crimson Typhoon, piloted by the Wei Tang triplets. They never say a single line of dialogue, they're just there, but the concept of a 3-armed mech is actually really neat. The Russians bring in this solid brick, Cherno Alpha. You can tell that thing is Russian. These mechs are canonically from the 2010s, but this looks like they just got him out of storage from the 70s.
Yeah.
So the Russians look like this. Now, as cool as these designs are, I wish I could say more about them, because regrettably, they're cannon fodder.
Yep, they're dead in 30 seconds.
I get the point is to have stakes, but man, 2 veteran Jaeger crews just wiped out in like 5 minutes. I know these are supposed to be higher level kaiju, but they don't look that different from the ones that came before. It's not like the Australian Jaeger Striker Eureka puts up a better fight. Striker is piloted by a father and son crew. The son is just an ass. And the father is a grizzled vet who also thinks his son is an ass. Leading to this dynamic where Rowley's closest friend is the dad, but also the son hates him.
I'll see you around, Raleigh.
It's that arc of the rival eventually coming to respect the main character, like Top Gun.
You can be my wingman anytime.
But with robots and less volleyball. Striker's design is sleek and jagged, but also somewhat aquatic. Funnily enough, Striker was supposed to be the main design for the protagonist mech, but it was shot down because Del Toro thought the design was a bit too edgy. Which I could see that. I always loved the idea of Jaegers representing a single country, and it felt like there was so much more room to expand this idea. Like, what would other countries' Jaegers look like? We need a Chilean Jaeger, maybe an Indonesian one. I will not rest until the Philippines has its giant anime mech. There used to even be a Pacific Rim website where you can make your own mech.
Orion Victor.
가디언 턱스트랏.
Bahond. Do you want fries with that?
But in classic Hollywood fashion, we all know who's gonna carry this movie. The one who, against all odds, is gonna take down every kaiju. The Americans, baby! Gypsy Danger is such a great design. That blue color scheme, it has this little pinup, like a bomber. And best of all, its AI is just GLaDOS.
Altitude actuation. Off balance.
Here come the test results. You are a horrible person.
That's not even a coincidence. Del Toro just thought it would be funny. It's the most humanoid good guy bot there is, but it still stands out. It kind of reminds me of a Spartan. Pacific Rim is the only film I've ever seen where the CGI portions look more realistic than the actual people. Del Toro has a certain way of filming, a certain charm, and it's not a realistic charm. Just in the way that the camera moves and the lighting is, it's certainly a look. Remember when movies used to have sets? While the live-action portions kind of resemble a TV movie, the action set pieces, still to this day, look absolutely phenomenal. Everything is set at night, which is a common way to make CGI look more convincing, but hey, it works. So much care was given into making sure the kaiju and Jaegers felt like physical monsters in this environment. Like, Del Toro even designed the kaiju to look like they could be worn as costumes by actual people. Which is such a great attention to detail, I love that. Every movement has weight. There's a perfect balance here. The Jaegers, for instance, move human enough to show there are minds behind each action. These aren't simple robots. But also there's a mechanical nature that keeps them from feeling like these are regular people in suits. It's a hard thing to do, especially as the movie is constantly changing its perspectives. Shots from the mech's point of view, shots from the air, shots from the ground. There was a lot of effort given in imagining how everything works in a physical space, while also not shying away from showcasing the action. Isn't that right, 2014 Godzilla? Godzilla coming out just 1 year after this only made it look worse.
Yeah, that was just a terrible movie. My god.
No. The Monsterverse got better over time, but man, am I still bitter.
He's right to be bitter. I mean, that's like a 2.5 hour movie. Godzilla's in it for 30 seconds. Count them. I mean, he's there for 30 seconds, and then there's like a flash of light, and that's it. He's gone. Why not just call it US Army gotta go disarm a nuke again? Yeah, I mean, that's all they did. Godzilla wasn't even in the movie. There was just an alien that looked like he was from Cloverfield, and then it's just like, then he died. I guess. Oh god, that sucked.
Pacific Rim ended up being a slightly flawed but incredibly entertaining action film that didn't need to be more complicated than it had to. When I first saw it as a teen, I loved it, and I still love it to this day. It just stayed as enjoyable as I remember. As the years have gone
it's cool
by,
robot.
and as Hollywood becomes consumed by franchises and sequels, I look back on Pacific Rim as this one unique gem. It's a good standalone movie, but also, like, come on. This is such a great idea. It always seemed like it would have spawned a sequel. But, you know, oh well. Guess not everything needs one. Well, it was good to reminisce. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna get this Jaeger out of the city before they give me a ticket for parking.
Go, potato!
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Pacific Rim wasn't a standalone movie.
This is no.
A sequel.
What do we do? We fight.
The second one was good too. I remember more yeah, I basically remember nothing. Except Charlie Day, because he's crazy. Now, I wonder if my food might be done. Because it was cooking for 20 minutes, and it's 17:51 on this, so time for another song. Wow, which one? See, that's there. What happened to the playlist thing that it was? It was here, and it was like okay. Right. I got you. It was the end of the thing. I got you. Well, listen to that. I'll be back in a minute or two. Things are beeping.
to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say. Mother, Mother, can you keep them in the dark for a while? Can you have a proper wedding world? Oh, Mother, Mother, gonna take your daughter out tonight. Gonna show her my world. Oh, Mother, Lord, I'm about to see your light. And if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it's like. Gotta bleed it. Not about to see your light. And if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it's. Mother, tell your children not to hold my hand. Tell your children not to understand. Oh, Mother, Father, do you wanna bang heads with me? Do you wanna feel everything? Oh, Mother, Lord, I'm about to see your light. And if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it's like. Till I'm bleeding, I'm about to see your light. And if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it is. Not about to see your light. But if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it's like. Till you're bleeding. Not about to see your light. But if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it's
Crazy. Oh. We'll see what we get.
Lord.
Alright. That was like 2 songs. See what Charlie's up to.
Forgive me because I'm about to sin again. I have sworn time and time again that I would do my best to resist making fun of the platform formerly known as Twitter, but I can't help myself. They keep giving me little layups that I can't help but just finish at the rim on. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. I just made a video making fun of the Twitter rebrand. It's now just called X.
Right, I have a steak, I have, in case you were wondering, I have a steak, I have a bueno, and I have some potatoes. Hello Magic Music.
And nothing else, which, as I said, is very embarrassing because it sounds like something on Xbox Live in a Call of Duty lobby from 2009 where every 12-year-old thought having X's in their name was cool, and I thought I had finally got it all out of my system. There's no more jokes left to make about this low-hanging fruit. Until just now, with breaking news, they released their new official tagline, and I couldn't believe it. My jaw was literally on the floor. I was more stunned by this tagline than I was with the ending to Inception when I first watched it. I shit you not. The report said that their tagline was "Blaze Your Glory." And I didn't believe it at first. I thought this was propaganda because surely no one is that uncool. What does this even mean? Blaze Your Glory. That sounds like a meaningless nothing burger that an anime protagonist would have shouted in a 2004 throwaway anime. I just can't believe someone could be this lame. I don't think evolution would allow for someone to be...
Look, Charlie, you've got to remember, he's a nerd from like 1996. He's like 50. He thinks 90s stuff is cool. He thinks X is edgy, that's why he's a goober. He's an absolute goober.
This uncool. We didn't evolve over the course of millions of years to reach a point where someone has made it to the apotheosis of cringe. I just don't believe we're there yet. Yet, all of the evidence points to the contrary. Elon Musk might legitimately be the lamest person to ever exist to think that this is cool. Blaze your glory. What does that even mean? It sounds like a sexual euphemism, like, oh, fuck. I'm up late, lotion on my hands, and I'm blazing my glory right now.
I'm blazing, boys.
I sort of checked this for myself, because I thought I was being lied to. I couldn't believe we existed in such a cursed dimension that would allow someone to think that this was cool. But it's true, it's real. That is the tagline for the platform formerly known as Twitter. It is Blaze Your Glory. That is worse than those old Discord cringe messages that would pop up when you try and launch the program where it was like, calculating RAR meme threshold, need to construct additional pylons for optimal memeing, quick, get to cover, Wumpus is a fire in his laser, watch out, Springle just deleted all your base.
Not my base!
Or belong to us.
Oh no!
This is worse. Blaze Your Glory is like 50 times worse. I have legitimately been giggling about this for at least 10 minutes, which is why I'm making a...
Blaze Your Glory. That is like what a 50-year-old who gets his first Harley Davidson and he's like, I need something cool to put on my leather jacket. Blaze Your Glory. That's it. I mean, it's like prehistoric at these days. It's like, because it's before the internet, right? Or like, it's not before the internet, but you know, before the internet and like the rest of the world. That didn't happen till like 2005. I didn't get my first computer till 2010. So this is, whew, that is ancient. That's older than me.
The whole video once again making fun of this platform, even though I have sworn that I would stop, like, control myself, the urge.
but I can't fight it. It's like that scene in Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves, where he gets tied up by the two girls, and he's like, I didn't fuck you, you fucked me. You came into my house and you sucked my cock. You sucked my dick. It was free pizza. That's how I feel right now. This is free pizza. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how could I not make fun of this? My glory is blazing just thinking about this shit. It's so wild to me. And I really just can't get over his obsession with the letter X. He named one of their fucking children X. And then a couple of other letters here that he must have seen during like a Steam Guard check to make sure that you're not a robot. Like, I understand that it has some kind of connotation with some kind of fighter jet or something, but once again, it's probably chosen by Elon Musk just because the letter X is in it. And for fucking 20 years now, over 2 decades, he's wanted X.com. Like, he wanted that to be PayPal originally. They shot that down for obvious reason because very clearly it seems like a porn site. But now he's got fucking full reign, unthrottled, uncircumcised, and unhinged. So he's got X and he's letting it all rip. There is no one but yes men surrounding Elon Musk just saying, go wild, brother. And he is. The glory will not stop being set ablaze right now at the X headquarters. Just a few nights ago, they set up some kind of X sign, like a light beaming off of a sign to the building, like it was the goddamn bat signal, but for fucking cringe. It was just like the letter X on a building. It looked horrible. It was disruptive. It was awful. It is just a non-stop roller coaster of embarrassment. I really don't know how it's possible to be that uncool. Like, it's incomprehensible to me. I grew up as a fucking loser, a weirdo, for sure. But even I would know that this is so embarrassing. My cheeks would never stop being red. I would never show my face out of shame. I would legitimately be in a paper bag for the rest of my life. I wouldn't let people see my face if I was the guy that kept doing this shit with X and Blaze Your Glory. The shame would just be far too much to even put into words. I can't help but make fun of it. I really can't. It's begging for it. I think there is a chance Elon Musk has some kind of humiliation fetish. Like, the more people say that it's lame, the more he wants to be insulted for it, it feels like. This seems deliberate. This can't be accidental. No one is this accidentally uncool. It's a plague because it's infecting other people into being just as lame. There's a lot of people that will just defend anything Elon Musk does with the platform, and then get mad when people make fun of it. So it's not just him, he is infecting and spreading the lame virus. He's like the Axe body spray for online losers. Where a lot of
there's some big words.
As like this group feeling of being like successful and cool, and like they're always going to battle for their leader Elon Musk, which makes no sense. Again, I don't really care about Twitter's success or its failure. I'm just laughing at the goofy decisions made along the way. So I'm just going to bring up one tweet here. It's not even this person in particular I have a problem with or anything. This is just a general attitude about how when I make fun of it, I'm just coping with the success of Twitter under the leadership of Elon Musk. I don't give a fuck. If Twitter burns to the ground tomorrow, I don't care. If it's 20 times more successful tomorrow, I don't care. I think the platform sucks. I'd prefer if it was in the dirt, buried 6 feet under. I think it's been a net negative for the entire world. But overall, its presence isn't something that disturbs me or makes me upset. I'm not coping with its success. I'm making fun of it. So even if it's 20 times more successful tomorrow, I will still make fun of it. You know what else is extremely successful? Selling soiled, used panties online to degenerates. I'll make fun of that too. But it is successful. It's very successful. A lot of women make a ton of money doing that. But just like X, Blaze Your Glory, it's something to laugh at because it's so fucking silly. It's so goofy. So no, this has nothing to do with jealousy over a platform's success or its failure or anything. It is just legitimately comical nonsense along the way that is something to point and laugh at as a spectacle and shoot some spitballs at. It's a circus, and the clowns are dancing, honking their nose and making me giggle. It's just not that deep. There's really nothing to psychoanalyze here. You don't need to be holding up Rorschachs to me in order to get down to the bottom of it. It's just super simple. So just stop being so upset when people make fun of some goofy shit like this. Keep your glory blazing. Take a step back and share in the laughs. It's just that simple. You're not on the board of directors or anything. You don't have any like actual investment into the company. So whether it's successful or it's not, it shouldn't matter to you. Just have fun. Like, just enjoy the silly ride that we're all on here with watching all of these goofy things unfold in front of us. Maybe it'll end up making the platform 1,000 times more successful and becomes extremely profitable. And maybe, 10 years from now, Blaze Your Glory's on t-shirts. It's even got its own little mascot, like fucking Ultra Lord out of Jimmy Neutron, the Glory Blazer or something. Like, maybe it's the biggest thing in the world. But it will still always be a fucking goofy, uncool thing. Always worthy of being joked about. But anyway, I won't go on too much longer about it. That's really about it. May your glory be forever ablaze, my ex-friends. That's about it. See ya.
I mean, it's a good thing it's not a public company anymore, because that stock price would be gone. That is just... I mean, how do you market X? I just don't know. It's goofy. It's gooberish. Alright, what's the terrible thing that's happened?
It's going to have some ripple effects for the economy, so pay attention. Trucking giant Yellow shuts down operations. The 99-year-old company with 22,000 Teamsters employees advises customers and workers of shutdown. This could be around 30,000 jobs gone, 22,000 union jobs.
That's a lot.
Sad reality. I think they're going to try and move into auto trucking, and they want this to happen. Okay, well, let me slow down. Who is they, though? No, I mean, I think financial interests.
It's just the industry, yeah. They're just going to move to it.
They want to keep up investment or support physical trucking businesses. A human driver it's probably not. They don't want to do it. We know electric trucking is on the horizon. AI trucking is on the horizon. These will be self-driving freights that...
Like, they're probably still going to have to use drivers in cities, but let's be real, driving on the highway, that's brain dead. That's brain dead. Just keep it between the lines. You basically have a truck do that these days. Teslas do it, and why not have a truck do it? So, I mean, motorway driving is the easiest driving you could have. City driving, yeah, you'd probably want a specialized driver to, drive around the city. He knows how to get in. He knows how to move around. He's familiar with that city. Instead of having him to drive from city to city, and every time he goes there, there's a different roadblock. There's different traffic. They've decided to put a bike lane there so he can't actually drive down there. It's just, yeah, it just sounds better. And then he gets to stay home, work local, instead of spending 3 days driving across the country. It sounds good. Sounds good.
Charge themselves. They'll pull into a station. I imagine at first it'll be a guy who walks up and plugs in a supercharger, unplugs it, and then it takes off. They could even be gas operated, but they can drive themselves. So you don't need to pay truckers anymore. This is a move that many of the financial interests, these are investors, these are the...
You're not going to get rid of truckers, but you're going to need truckers to specialize more in local areas, I suppose. Because motorways, I mean, you could just take that out. Just take out motorways. Save them the hassle of driving on a motorway. Save them 3 days of their life, every job. That'd be fine.
High-ranking executives of these companies, something they've wanted to happen for some time. But there's also an important lesson in union negotiations, because one of the reasons they say for the collapse of this trucking company is the Teamsters. Negotiations, stagnation, while the company bled money and then imploded. And for that reason, I do want to talk about unions and why I love and hate them. Let me just clarify for you. I love collective bargaining. The workers deserve to be treated fairly and deserve an honest cut of the profits. Genuinely believe so. But here's the big question for all the union members. Do you take a cut of the profits when the profits come in? And do you take a cut of the debt when the debt comes in? Because it makes no sense that you would come here and say, in good times we deserve, and in bad times, F you. That's where we are. That's the mentality of the modern liberal in the Democratic Party when it comes to unions. They never want to entertain the idea that as employees, being stakeholders means debt all the same. No, only profits, only profits. It reminds me a lot of like feminism. They say women should be able to work, and you're like, okay, sewers right there, honey. You want to do the job that men do? Absolutely, you should be allowed to. But that includes working in the sewers? No. They're only ever talking about the cushy, air-conditioned office jobs. Send the men to the petroleum rigs and to the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with unions. This is what I just don't like. Equal share means the debts and the profits. Now, my view of running a company is if you work for the company and you generate revenue for the company, you're
What's that?
entitled to the large majority of it. The company should
these
recoup
links?
what it spent in investment
Huh.
plus a
Interesting.
liked premium. But I don't take this view many of these companies have where it's like, you know, you could be making 50% margins per employee. And I'm like, nah, you'd rather give more of that to the person doing the work. That's my view of things. So I kind of imagine that if I ever opened a coffee shop, which is on the way, the people who work
Woo!
when we become profitable, they're going to be making a good sum of money. Because I'm not trying to own a chain of coffee shops to be rich. I'm trying to open a chain of coffee shops to change culture and make people's lives better, create good jobs and all that stuff.
You don't need a chain, you just
But
need
however,
one. One is enough.
I understand why corporations exist this way. The reality is that if you do right by your employees in good times, they will thank you for it.
Mhm.
When bad times come, they'll say, your fault, your problem. So how do you balance that? Am I, as the employer, supposed to set aside a rainy day fund, take nothing for myself for all the work that I've done, give the profits and benefits to those in good times when the bad times befall me? I'm the one left to suffer? No, I think perhaps the reality is there should be some contractual negotiations in this regard. Let's talk about this. For one, it is shocking. There's some blame, they say, to Donald Trump because they're saying he put in $700 million in COVID rescue. No, I think that's a good thing. Trump was trying to save jobs, and we did this big COVID rescue plan for everybody. Granted, huge mistake across the board in shutting everything down. May have destroyed the economy, but I think really this is what they wanted. Seriously. Look at this. Yellow started in 1924 as a tiny taxi and bus operations in Oklahoma City. The Yellow Cab Transit Company ferried locals around in yellow Ford Model Ts. Isn't that crazy? 100 years later, the company's gone. That's kind of crazy. Do they still operate taxis? I feel like they do, don't they? They said they bought another trucking company, and then they've been saddled with debt. They can't pay it off. But the main thing I want to get to in this regard is the unions. They say Yellow's financial woes have mounted this year as declining shipping demands across the freight sector cut into volumes and sent rates falling. Its cash holdings fell to around $100 million in June from $235 million in December. The company made progress on its integration in its western region, then worked to push ahead across the country. Those actions triggered sharp and escalating changes between the Teamsters and the company. The Teamsters said the company needed to renegotiate its multi-year contract, which expires after March 24, to carry out its operating changes. Yellow filed suit on June 27th, accusing the Teamsters of blocking the changes and costing the trucker business. The company said inaction could push Yellow into liquidation. In June, the company sought to defer 2 pension fund payments, putting it $50 million behind its contributions. The Teamsters threatened to strike mid-July if the company didn't make the payment, spooking customers. This is what I want to get to. I'm a big fan of truckers. Truckers are the red blood cells of this nation. Without truckers, you don't get your avocados in winter. You don't get your strawberries in the fall. You want out-of-season fruit? Thank a trucker. In fact, to be completely honest, everything you get, period. Here's the reality of it all. As the red blood cells of this nation, understand this. When you eat, say, like Thai food, do you have any idea the complex degree of ingredients that must come together to craft such a meal? It's crazy, to be completely honest. All of the weird... I can't remember what I was eating. I was eating at like an Indian restaurant. And I looked up the ingredients to like the recipe for some meal. And I was like, yo, this plant grows in Central America. This animal is bred in California. This spice comes from, Southeast Asia. And they ship it all on cargo ships. And then truckers bring it all to your supermarket.
Yep.
And you're able to live like a king.
And that's why I eat steak. Steak is local. Steak is easy. Get a steak. Cook it. Eat it. Remember, a steak isn't cooked unless it's well done. If it ain't well done, if it's pink, put it back in. If it gets a little burn on the outside, that's just flavor. It actually is lovely.
This way. So I certainly am a big fan of truckers. But you also need to understand this. Regardless of what job you do, if the money ain't there, the money ain't there. I worked for Fusion, ABC Univision joint venture. Most of you know this. After I left, there was talk about unionizing because a bunch of these digital newsrooms were unionizing. I told my friend, I said, you know what, here's what you do. Go to your boss right now and say, I want nothing to do with this. I do not want to unionize. Please give me any position in any way that has nothing to do with the unionization effort. I'll tell you why. They're going to fire all of you. Why? If there's no money to pay you, you don't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Really that simple. So when all the employees come to the boss and say, we demand more money, and the boss goes, yeah, there's no money. And they say, well, then we won't work. Well, okay, you're all fired. And guess what happened? They laid off like 300 people. Yeah, I'll give a shout out. As a business owner myself, one thing...
When you're fired, you're not even fired. You're made redundant. Good luck trying to get unemployment benefits or find another job. Good luck. If your job gone, chances are everyone else's job's gone as well. Good luck. When it's bad, it's bad.
Thing that people genuinely don't understand is that when you come and ask for a raise, typically what you're saying is, can I have some of your money? Really? Not always, not always. There are certainly circumstances where people are dramatically underpaid and they're producing more in value. But take a look at most businesses that are either falling into the red due to hard times, or you take a look at startup businesses, in this case, Fusion. Fusion gets investment to operate. They're not generating revenue in the black. They're in the red, meaning they may make money, but they're losing and spending more money than they make. You then come and say, I deserve more money. The boss says, look, I'm tracking our revenue right here. We lose $100,000 a month. Y'all want more money? You're going to double our losses and rapidly accelerate our decline. We need to generate more money, then we can pay you more. And they went, no, I deserve it. And I've heard this so many times from these digital newsrooms. They would say things like, if you're trying to invest and build something, we're the ones who are doing the work, so we deserve more.
Good man. Okay. Mm-hmm. Finds a body in the trunk. Interesting. What's Minion doing now?
We all know that Minion loves boxes by now. He loves to sit in them, even if they're too small. He usually tries to fit in. I've got a much bigger box for Minion. This one has some foam padding on the bottom, and I'm about to upgrade it significantly. This is an Icy Breeze cooler with a built-in air conditioner.
Built-in!
Vent hole in his new box and stick the tube right down inside of it. Add a ton of ice in there so it lasts a long time. Comes with a 12-volt plug, but you can also get a battery as well as an AC adapter. I'll get that plugged in for you, Minion, and now you have your very own air-conditioned box. Get the settings turned up for maximum coolness, and we'll see how it's going in here. Oh look, not only is Minion enjoying it, but so is Saber. He brought me the manual like I was going to read instructions or something, but that's probably not going to happen. It's a really warm day today. It's 85 degrees, but inside the box is about 60. When Minion wasn't looking, I installed the splitter, and now I've got cool air blowing on me too. You can get your own Icy Breeze cooler at icybreeze.com. We all know that Minion...
Nice.
I was eating a delicious burger that I made, and Minion really wanted some. But burgers aren't good for Minion all the time. It is about his dinner time, so I understand why he's being so persistent. He even got himself underfoot and ended up with a bunch of cheese on his head that dripped out. Sorry about that, Minion. He really didn't know that's where it was, so I picked it off his head and said, here you go, you can have it. And he's like, that's good, but what about the rest? So then I gave him a bowl of water, which he was also extremely unimpressed with. What Minion should actually be eating is kibble, so I'm going to get him some kibble out of his container, and then I'll put it in the water, and we're going to do some tricks while it soaks up and becomes yummy and delicious. Well, I don't think it's yummy and delicious, but he does. I don't think I've ever showed the command want one in a video. When I say that, he's supposed to make a funny gurgling sound. Want one? Want one? Want one? Okay, go eat. I was eating a...
Today's big question, why are American bathtubs so low down? What do I mean by that? Well, I've talked about this before. Growing up in Britain, whenever I had a bath, or took a bath as they say here in America, I'd always have to step down slightly when getting out.
In other words, the floor of the bath was higher up than the floor next to it. In America, these are on the same level, so what's going on?
Well, the British approach, and indeed the European approach, all comes down to piping.
Because a lot of British houses are quite a bit older than American ones, they weren't built with bath plumbing in mind. To resolve this, most British houses raise up the tub to make way for the piping and U-bend underneath, a setup that remains more straightforward than retrofitting modern-day piping. In America, where 60% of all houses were built after the turn of the 20th century, houses were largely built with bathtubs in mind. Instead of housing the piping directly underneath the tub, the pipes instead penetrate the floor, meaning there's no need to raise up the tub.
Today's big question, why are...
Oh look, a foam-filled tire that's shedding its skin. That's not supposed to happen. But that's alright, it keeps me employed. These tires weigh about 1,000 pounds, which is why my truck just lifted up so much, and why we didn't take it off by hand. The tire doctor can't do these alone because it weighs about 10 times more than him, so he brought in the tire dad to help. Our trucks can only carry one at a time without being overloaded, which is also why the tire dad is here. Also, I think he just wanted to be in my video, let's be honest. Oh look, a foam-filled tire that's shedding its skin.
Alright, not too bad. Alright, it's been about 2 hours, so I'm gonna go... we're gonna play another song, and then I'm gonna go and do what? I don't know, something else. But I might come back on a while and play some video game. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for joining, and we'll get back on the horse during the week. Alright. There we go. There you go, listen to this.
Forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of they told ya. Now you do what they told ya. Now you do what they told ya. Now you do what they told ya. And 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 now you do what they told ya. Those who died are justified for wearing the badge and your chosen white. You're justified. Those that died for wearing the badge and your chosen white. Those who died are justified for wearing the badge and your chosen white. You're justified. Those who died for wearing the badge and your chosen white. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of killing in the name of
ya. Now you do what they told ya. Now you do what they told ya. Now you do what they told ya. You're under control. Now you do what they told ya. You're under control. Now you do what they told ya. You're under control. And now you do what they told ya. You're under control. And now you do what they told ya. You're under control. And now you do what they told ya. You're under control. And now you do what they told ya. You're under control. And now you do what they told ya. Those who die are justified for wearing a badge. They get chosen white. You're justified. Those that died for wearing a badge. They get chosen white. Those who died are justified for wearing a badge. They get chosen white. You're justified. Those that died for wearing a badge. They get chosen white. Come on.
Oh no, closed. Alright. Bye-bye.